The sun was just beginning to sink behind the buildings, staining the sky orange and purple, when Leah Santos stepped out of the glass doors of the call center. Her headset still hung around her neck. The lanyard with her company ID bounced lightly against her chest with every exhausted step. She just finished a 10-hour night shift that bled into the afternoon, juggling irate customers from 3 different time zones. Her ears still rang with hold music and scripted apologies. All she wanted now was to go home, shower, and sleep. Leah crossed the street toward the small waiting area just outside the police station next door. It was a common landmark for ride-hailing drivers, safe, well-lit, easy to find on the app. She opened her phone, booked a ride, and saw the familiar message, "Your driver will arrive in 8 minutes." She exhaled slowly and sat on the low ledge by the sidewalk. The humid air clung to her clothes. She slipped her headset into her bag and rubbed at her tired eyes. Behind her, the station's glass doors opened and closed as officers ended their shifts, chatting and laughing. Patrol cars idled at the curb, red and blue lights pulsing faintly in the dusk. Leah watched them absently, thinking of her husband somewhere inside that very building, Chief Daniel Santos. To most of the city, he was Chief Santos, the firm but fair head of the precinct, a man who spoke on TV about reform, accountability, and community trust. To Leah, he was Dan, the man who brewed her coffee just the way she liked it, who knew when to talk and when to simply sit beside her while she decompressed after especially rough calls. He didn't know she was waiting outside his station tonight. She hadn't messaged him, his schedule was unpredictable, and she hated the thought of pulling him away from work just to escort her home. She was used to being independent. A chilly breeze cut through the warmth, and Leah hugged her bag tighter. Her ride's little icon on the app hardly seemed to move. Of course, now you decide to hit traffic. A sharp voice cut through the low hum of the street. "Hey, you!" Leah looked up. A police officer was striding toward her from the station gate. He was broad-shouldered, his dark uniform perfectly pressed, hat pulled low over his forehead. His nameplate read M. Rivera. He looked annoyed even before he reached her. "You can't sit there," he barked. Leah blinked, taken aback. "I'm just waiting for my ride, sir. It'll be here in a few minutes. This is the pinned location." Rivera snorted. "I don't care if it's pinned to the moon. This isn't a waiting shed. This is a police station. Move along." She glanced around. The sidewalk was open. She wasn't blocking the gate. A couple of other people were also loitering nearby. 2 teenagers with backpacks sharing earphones, a man scrolling through his phone by the lamppost. None of them were being scolded. "I'm not causing any trouble," Leah said, carefully. "I'll stand. It's okay. I just booked a ride and—" "Are you arguing with me?" Rivera interrupted, stepping closer. The smell of cigarettes clung to his uniform. "I said leave." Leah swallowed. Months of call center training kicked in. De-escalate. Stay calm. Don't match anger with anger. "With respect, sir," she said, "I'm just explaining. My driver has the station as the drop-off point. If I move too far, he might not find me." Rivera's eyes flicked to her ID lanyard and the headset peeking out of her bag. "So you're one of those call center people," he scoffed. "No wonder you like hanging around outside at weird hours. What, your shift is over, so now this is your tum-by-on?" The words stung more than she expected. "I'm just trying to go home," she replied, voice still controlled but tighter now. "I've been on the phone all night. I'm tired." "Then be tired somewhere else," he snapped. "Go loiter outside your own building, not ours. You think just because you can speak English to foreigners, you're special? You're still just a phone operator taking complaints." Leah felt heat rise in her cheeks. Several people had turned to watch now, their expressions a mix of curiosity and discomfort. I saw a man farther down the street subtly raise his phone. "I'm not loitering," she said quietly. "I'm waiting. There's a difference." Wrong choice of word. Rivera's face darkened. "I've had it with mouthy people today," he growled. "Stand up. I already—" Before she could finish, his hand shot out and clamped around her forearm. His grip was iron. Leah gasped as he jerked her away from the ledge and started dragging her down the sidewalk toward the curb. "Sir, you're hurting me," she protested, trying to keep up to avoid falling. "If you won't walk on your own, I'll help you," he snarled. "You want to make a scene? Let's make a scene." Her bag bounced against her hip, phone nearly slipping from her hand. Her ID swung wildly at the end of its lanyard. Pain lanced up her arm where his fingers dug into her skin. "Please," she said, voice cracking. "Let go. I'm not a criminal." Rivera laughed harshly. "You're on police property and disobeying instructions. That's enough." "Hey, relax," someone called out from behind. "She's done nothing." Rivera didn't look back. "Mind your own business," he yelled over his shoulder. Leah stumbled as he yanked her again. Coins dropped from her pocket, clinking on the concrete. A small crowd was forming now. People from the call center, passers-by, even a few officers at the station door peering out to see what the commotion was. Her heart pounded. The humiliation felt almost louder than the pain. She could feel every pair of eyes on her, the noisy call center girl being dragged like a troublemaker. Something inside her, however, stayed cold and focused. Years of handling irate callers had taught her how to keep part of her mind steady no matter how much someone shouted in her ear. She glanced sideways, catching sight of Rivera's nameplate again. M. Rivera. She noted the rank pins on his collar, the deep line of a scar near his left ear, the way he gestured with his free hand as he spoke. She filed away every detail. Finally, he released her near the curb, away from the station gate. "There," he said. "You want to wait? Do it here. One step back on the police property without permission, and I'm hauling you in. Are we clear?" Leah rubbed her reddened arm, trying to keep her voice from shaking. "We're clear," she said. He smirked, as if he'd won some great victory, then turned his back and marched toward the entrance. Behind him, murmurs rose among the onlookers. "That was too much. Did you get that on video? That's the chief's station, right? Isn't he always on TV talking about respect?" Leah's ride finally pulled up, hazard lights blinking. The driver rolled down the window, eyes wide as he took in her shaking hands in the small crowd. "Ma'am, you okay?" he asked. I inhaled deeply, gathering myself. "I will be," she said. She got in silently and rode home, the glow of the station's lights shrinking in the side mirror. Her arm throbbed where fingers had left an emerging bruise. She did not cry. Instead, she mentally organized everything she'd seen: time, location, names, faces. Years of documenting customer calls made it easy. By the time she stepped through the door of the apartment she shared with Dan, the narrative was clear, precise, almost clinical. Dan wasn't home yet. His mug still sat on the counter, half washed. His jacket hung on the back of a chair. Leah dropped her bag, sank onto the sofa, and finally let herself feel tired. Bone deep, soul deep, tired. Her phone buzzed. A friend from work had sent a message. "Leah, are you all right? Someone posted a video of what happened outside the station. I think it's you." Her chest tightened. She opened the link. The video was shaky, filmed from across the street, but the details were obvious. Rivera grabbing her arm, dragging her ID swinging wildly at the end of its lanyard. His voice audible over the rush of traffic. "You're still just a phone operator taking complaints." Comments were already piling up on the post, some angry, some mocking, some defending the officer. She stared at the screen for a long time. Then, she forwarded the link to one contact, Dan. A minute later, her phone rang. "Leah? Is this real? Are you all right? Where are you?" "At home," I said softly. "I'm okay, just bruised. I didn't want to disturb you at work earlier. I know how you get when you're angry." A silence filled with restrained fury. "Tell me everything," he said. She did. She described the conversation word for word, the grip on her arm, the tone, the way it all felt. I heard Dan's breathing grow heavier on the other end of the line. "His name is Rivera.
I thought I recognized him from the last station event, but I wasn't sure until I saw the badge up close." "You're sure?" he asked. "Yes." Another pause.
"Thank you for staying calm," he said quietly. "I know that wasn't easy. I'm coming home." "You have a shift," she reminded him. "I also have a wife," he replied, "and a station with a serious problem." The next morning, Leah woke up to a cascade of notifications. The video had spread overnight. A local page had picked it up with the caption, "Call center agent dragged by cop outside precinct. Was this necessary?" People were debating in the comments, tagging news outlets, tagging the police department's official page. Dan stood at the kitchen counter, tie loosened, eyes on his tablet. He looked like he hadn't slept. "They're already asking for a statement," he said without preamble. "We'll hold a press conference later. IA is reviewing the footage from our own cameras." Leah poured coffee slowly. "Are you sure you want to involve the whole department?" she asked. "People might say you're using your position for personal revenge." He met her gaze. "I only wanted revenge if I'd pulled Rivera into my office last night and dealt with him behind closed doors. But that's exactly what I promised not to do when I took this job. Abuse isn't less real just because it happened to someone close to me. If anything, it's my duty to be transparent, especially now." She studied his tired face, the determination in his eyes, and nodded. "Then I'll be there, not as your wife, as the woman in the video." He hesitated. "Are you sure? It's going to be rough. People will dig, comment, question." Leah's hand brushed the fading bruise on her arm. "People already have an opinion," she replied. "I'd rather they hear my voice than just see a clip." A few hours later, the station's briefing room was packed. Reporters, cameras, curious officers lining the walls. The viral video played on a screen at the front. Murmurs rose every time Rivera's hand tightened around Leah's arm. Chief Santos stepped up to the podium, uniform crisp, expression controlled. "Good morning," he began. "Last night, an incident occurred outside this station involving one of our officers and a civilian. That civilian is my wife." The room went still. Pens paused over notepads. "I want to be very clear. The fact that she is my wife is not the reason we are investigating. This department is reviewing the incident because no citizen, whether related to an officer or not, should be treated with unnecessary force or disrespect by someone in uniform." He gestured toward Leah, who sat at a table nearby, plain blouse and slacks, call center ID resting near her hand like a quiet badge of its own. "I have agreed to speak," Dan said, "and I will listen to her now the same way I would want any officer to listen to a complainant." Leah's heart pounded as she stood and approached the microphone. Flashbulbs popped. She took a breath, hearing in her head the same phrase she'd used on countless calls. "Thank you for patiently waiting." "Last night," she began, voice steady, despite everything, "I clocked out after a night shift, booked a ride, and waited near this station because it's marked as a safe pickup point. I was tired, but I was not drunk, not loud, not disturbing anyone." She described the conversation with Rivera, the insults, the dragging, the pain. She didn't embellish, didn't dramatize. She told it like a call recording, fact by fact. "I didn't tell him I was married to the chief because it shouldn't have mattered. Respect should not depend on who someone is connected to. I stood there as just a call center agent, and that was apparently enough reason to treat me like a nuisance." Reporters scribbled. Cameras zoomed in. A few officers in the back shifted uneasily. Dan returned to the microphone. "Officer Rivera has been placed on immediate suspension. Internal Affairs is conducting a full investigation. In addition, we are implementing mandatory retraining on community interaction with special focus on workers in BPOs and other night shift industries who often stand in front of our stations simply because they feel safer there." He paused, letting that sink in. "I will not pretend this one case solves everything, but I will also not allow it to be swept aside because it's uncomfortable. If an officer cannot handle a tired citizen on a sidewalk without resorting to humiliation and force, that officer does not belong in this uniform." Someone raised a hand. "Chief, some critics say this is only getting attention because the victim is your wife. How do you respond?" Leah reached for the mic before Dan could. "They're right," she said plainly. "If I were just another woman in a headset with no personal connection to this building, most people might have scrolled past the video. That's exactly the problem." She looked straight into the nearest camera. "So I'm asking you, don't let it stop with me. Listen to the janitors, the vendors, the jeepney drivers, the construction workers, the people you see every day outside these gates. If a chief's wife can be treated like this because someone thought she was just a call center agent, imagine what happens to those whose names nobody knows." Silence spread through the room, heavier than any shouted slogan. In the weeks that followed, complaints that had been buried by fear began to surface. Small stories of casual insults, unnecessary shoves, threats muttered under breath. Some were investigated and confirmed, others were harder to prove. But the act of speaking up became a little less terrifying. Leah went back to work, headset once again in place, scripts once again on her screen. Callers still yelled, systems still crashed, coffee still cooled too quickly on her desk. But every time she walked past the station now, on her way to find a ride, something had changed. The officers at the gate greeted her with polite nods. One younger officer even walked a nervous new agent to her car one night, waving at the driver to park closer. Leah watched, a small smile touching her lips. Not every cop would suddenly be kind. Not every abuse would be caught on video. But a conversation had started. Inside the station, inside the city, inside the hearts of people who realized that power without humility was just another form of noise. And sometimes it took a woman in a headset, dragged at the gate of the very building that preached respect, to remind everyone inside what those words were supposed to mean.